Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today, we're tackling a book that, well, it claims to have the instruction manual for the one thing we really haven't figured out. We're looking at Game of Life, Cheat Codes from Beyond by L.A. Fairhoff. And I have to say, calling them cheat codes is pretty bold when the topic is death.
It is a provocative title, but that's the point.
It is. I mean, most of us don't think of death as a level we can hack. We think of it as the console getting unplugged.
And that's the assumption the book challenges.
Yeah.
Fairhoff's whole argument is that we're playing the game under this false premise that death is a game over screen.
Okay.
So they ask, what if it isn't a wall we crash into, but merely a doorway to a room we already know?
I have to push back a little there. I mean, death as a doorway is a very standard spiritual trope, isn't it? We've seen it on 1,000 greeting cards.
That's a fair skepticism.
So does Fairhoff actually offer a new mechanic here, or is this just repackaged hope for people who are, afraid of the dark?
Well, I think so. Chapter 3 on death and consciousness anchors this in something more like biology, not just sentiment. The book uses the metaphor of the caterpillar,
Right.
but it strips away the Disney version of it. It focuses on the sheer violence of the transformation.
You're talking about the liquefaction.
Exactly. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar doesn't just sprout a pair of wings and fly off. It completely dissolves.
It digests itself.
Its own enzymes turn it into a kind of genetic soup. And if you were that caterpillar, if you had a consciousness, you wouldn't feel like you were evolving.
No, you'd feel like you were being annihilated.
Precisely. Your entire structure is just collapsing.
Right.
From the caterpillar's perspective, it is the end of the world.
So what looks like a catastrophic ending from one perspective
is actually the necessary mechanism for expansion. We look at death from the outside and all we see is termination. Fairhoff suggests that from the inside of the experience, it's just the dissolution required to enter a wider state of being.
Which is a fascinating concept, but let's ground this a bit. Most of our listeners aren't planning on dissolving into soup today.
I would hope not.
They're stuck in traffic or prepping for a meeting. So how does this cheat code about death actually change how I play the game on a Tuesday morning?
This is where it gets into behavioral psychology and existential anxiety. Fairhoff argues that the terror of the end creates this scarcity mindset that ruins the game while we're still playing it.
A scarcity mindset.
Yeah, because we think the clock is ticking down to a permanent zero, we play small. We hoard moments.
We start grasping at things.
We grasp. We become risk-averse because we're terrified of losing our turn. It's like being at a party and just staring at the exit sign, worried about when the bouncer's coming.
That really resonates.
Yeah.
If you're terrified the music is about to stop forever, you can't really listen to the song.
You can't. You just shuffle anxiously. The book uses this analogy of an instrument. When a violin breaks, the music itself doesn't cease to exist.
Right. The instrument just can't play it anymore.
Exactly. So Fairhoff suggests that if you can genuinely accept that consciousness is continuous, that the music keeps going even if the violin is smashed, it fosters bravery.
You stop playing defensively.
You can risk your heart fully. You're not fighting for survival anymore. You're just experiencing a movement in a symphony.
It's quite ironic, isn't it?
Oh.
We humans were so obsessed with these tragic finales.
Oh, we love a dramatic exit.
The curtain falls, the screen fades to black, the weeping begins. It appeals to our sense of narrative importance.
We are dramatic creatures, you're right. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom, seems to prefer sequels, grand transformations.
So our obsession with the end.
It's actually quite provincial, a bit small-minded when you look at the scale of reality.
Okay, so moving from the philosophical to the actionable. The book promises cheat codes. Is there a practical way to apply this reframing?
There is.
Because intellectually getting the doorway idea is one thing. Feeling it when you're grieving or afraid is something else entirely.
It is. So it involves shifting how we process loss. Instead of focusing on absence, the empty chair, you focus on the expanded state, but there's a specific exercise for it, the threshold contemplation.
Walk us through that.
It's deceptively simple, almost boring, really, but it's a cognitive training tool. You stand in a doorway in your home.
Literally just stand in a doorway.
Literally. Put one foot in the kitchen and one in the hallway. And you pause there, and you consciously feel the sensation of existing in two spaces at once.
That sounds a little abstract, I have to say. I mean, I'm just standing in a door frame, right?
You are, but you're training your brain to see boundaries not as walls that stop you, but as connecting points. It helps you internalize the idea that we are always in transition.
We're never really fixed in one room.
Never. It built a kind of muscle memory for the ultimate transition.
I see. It's physical conditioning for a metaphysical concept. If you can get comfortable standing on a threshold in your own house, you might get more comfortable with the idea that life itself is just a series of rooms.
Exactly. And that leads to the big question the book leaves you with. If you truly believe death was just a horizon and not a cliff, what would you stop being afraid of today?
A massive perspective shift to chew on there. Death is a horizon, not a cliff.
Yeah.
Well, I trust this deep dive has offered a bit of light on a shadowy topic. You can find the universal link to Game of Life, Cheat Codes from Beyond in our show notes.
And we'd love to hear from you. Check the show notes for today's poll question. What resonates most with you about this cheat code?
Your answers really do help us understand how these cheat codes are transforming your game of life. Join us next week where we'll be taking another look at transforming our thoughts. Until then.